All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our last metric model meeting of the year. We'll have our next meeting, I think it's like the second week of January. Is that right? Something like that. It's whenever our chaos meetings start up again on the second week of January.
Yeah,
So whether or not that's the week of metric models or not, anyway, we'll talk to you in the new year. But until then, I think we have a few things on the agenda. So there. January 16th is our next meeting, so thank you, Elizabeth. I will share my screen. All right. So I'm in the right one, aren't I?
Yeah, it when I clicked the link, I don't know if it was where I was last. It took me to the Augur 8 knot notes,
Okay.
but that could just be where I was last.
Because I was just seeing that I was the only one that had signed in. No biggie. So I'm guessing Yahui, you have an update here. Do you want to share? I lost your video, but I think you're still there. And maybe I lost your audio too.
I think Yahui froze. He's possibly in a hotel with bad Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so
He's definitely frozen.
yep. Okay. Okay. Well, that'll take us to the next item. And Yahui, as soon as you pop back on, we can obviously go up to your item. So for those of you that don't know, we're kind of in the latter stages of updating our metrics. So a number of people, hey Yahui, you're back. So let me just finish the thought here. So a number of people have
sorry.
been helping us kind of work through our metrics and put them into a new template. And I've actually really enjoyed the process, kind of thinking about how we can sharpen our metrics, particularly as they're made available to people. And I think really what this is, and I'd kind of like to do the same exercise for metric models, and I have a few things that I think we could start with. Just again, kind of sharpening what we have already published out there, because I think there's some loose ends that could be addressed pretty easily to just kind of improve those models. So we'll get to that in just a second. That was kind of a working part of this project or this meeting. Yahui, you're back. I'm guessing you put this here. Is that correct?
Yep, yep.
Yeah. Do you want to talk through this a little bit? Do you need to share a screen or anything like that?
I think you can just open up that link.
This. Yep. Okay.
I think you are also working on that. I just
Yep.
spent a little bit of time to update the
Okay.
status about progress,
Oh, great.
implementation by Compass.
So what we're looking at here is our
Yeah, we have three status for Compass uh,
okay.
on this metrics implementation. So around 36 metrics has already been implemented in Compass, and we're planning another 25 metrics in the short future uh, to be implemented in Compass. And for the rest of the, at least in the short term, we don't have any plan to implement it.
I'm guessing it's things like this
Yes.
that you just can't pull. Okay. Uh, that sounds great. And then Yahui, for the metrics that get implemented as you work through this list, is the plan to provide metric models as well that would have these implemented metrics? Or is it really just because I know Compass allows you to kind of aggregate metrics however you feel like aggregating them? I was wondering if you planned on providing a few model templates.
Exactly. Currently, what we are working on is uh, implement as many metrics we plan to do so as much as we can do on the
Okay.
Compass, especially make it happen on the Compass Live, this part. So after we implement all the metrics we think they're useful, and in the next step, we are gonna have a plan to implement um, the useful or valuable metrics model on the compass,
Okay,
especially through the compass line.
gotcha.
Mm.
Okay, so that I think that would lead in well. Did you have any other updates, Yuhui? That's really great. Do you have any other things you want to talk about on this
No,
list?
no, no, not today.
Okay. In China, is this a quiet time of the year, or is this, or do people just keep working?
Just keep working. We still have another 2 months before Spring Festival.
When is the Spring Festival? I remember the Spring Festival.
Um, Interesting. It just happened by the end of the January next year.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, it's it's when our Chaos Summit happened
okay.
in
Oh,
It
they
feels
Brussels.
like it's
get
always
Brussels.
around FOSDEM. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. Well, uh, that part of the world keeps working. I think this part of the world slows down for the next
I know
the
that.
next for the next month. So, all right,
Yeah,
cool. Great. If you have any updates too, as these continue to get implemented, feel free to share. But that's really great. So thank
yeah. I'm also thinking if I have got a chance to attend this Chaos Summit this time.
you. You think you're gonna go?
Yeah, I'm planning on that.
Okay, that'd be great. I've never met you in person.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You can see how tall I am.
Really? Yeah, that's true. At least I
Matt,
already see how tall Sean is.
yeah. Well, you can see if the weight I've lost is still off of me when I get there.
All right, that would be great. I think actually pretty much everybody on this call is planning on attending. So
That's great. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, great. I have all sorts of ChaosCon questions all of a sudden, but I know this isn't the ChaosCon meeting. So all right, great. Thanks for the update, Yui. Okay, so like I said, we are just kind of in the final stages of reviewing our metrics. Nothing really has changed in the sense, Yui, of any deployment concerns that you have. The definitions are still there. We've just been kind of cleaning up how we present the information on the pages. So URLs stay the same, nothing has changed there. And so thank you for everybody's help in doing that. And I think in our next meeting after this, in our metrics meeting, there's still a little bit of work to do in that cleanup, but I think we're to the point now where we're kind of landing that effort, which is very nice. I'd like to do
Mhm.
the same for the metric models as well. I think there was a period where they were relatively new and they were received really well as a way to aggregate metrics. I think we were eager to kind of document ideas for people through our metric models, which is also great. And during that documentation process, we gave ourselves quite a bit of latitude, particularly around including metrics that we hadn't developed yet in CHAOSS. Does anybody remember this conversation? And the hope was is that when we put a metric in a model that wasn't necessarily developed at the moment, so I'll see if I can randomly pick one here. Let's see if project engagement has one. Okay, so issue comments, meeting count, like these are metrics that have not been developed at this point, I think. I have to double check. But the idea was that if we put them in the model itself, that would be enough pressure to actually take the time and create the metric to be a link inside of the model. That was our logic here, but that um, hasn't really played out the way that I think I thought it was going to play out, or the way that we thought it was going to play out. So what I'm going to propose is that we take a look at our metric models, and anytime that there is not a metric that has been deployed, we remove it from the model.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
just
that
we
makes
can
sense. Yeah.
okay, yeah, I mean we could save this as historical in some way that kind of says this is what we thought would be good in the model, and if it ever becomes developed, we can include it. But I think for the time being, it would make more sense if our metric models only contained links to actual metrics.
Mhm.
General agreement on that? I'm seeing nodding.
As opposed to, do we have not actual metrics, or you mean
Yeah.
metrics that we said, here's our metric model. We have these imagined metrics that might be created. We're just going to take those out.
Yes, any of these unlinked metrics, they go. And
Yeah.
doing that, I was thinking about this. I don't think it really harms the nature of the metric model itself, because any of the metric models are really just meant to be this aggregation of metrics to help you think about a particular issue. Whether we have 3 metrics that kind of help support that thought process or 7, I don't think it matters too much. So yeah, Elizabeth, I think you ever so slightly beat Sean with the hand.
I just
Next
had
time.
two questions. The first one is, would it be of value to just have a section of like other potential metrics or other thoughts or something where we would just have issues updated, issues that are updated? You know what I mean? Just like a one line thing and just have like the bullets of each one that we think might also pertain. Would that be helpful, or should we just take them out altogether?
I thought about that, and I think when I thought about it, I was thinking about Dawn's practitioner guides, because Dawn, you have kind of a series that are kind of lead the way on those guides, but then you have this other like other thoughts section. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
other things to think about. But I don't have the guide. I could look, but for that other thoughts part, are they actual existing metrics, or are they just other things to
I
think
think
about?
so. Yeah.
It's actually a mix. It's because let me just look at one. It's in step 3, gather additional data if needed.
Yeah.
Has additional metrics. And I think for most of them, those are actual metrics, but I think that's not always the case. I was just going to try to look and see if I could find an example of one
Okay.
because I
And
think
while
maybe,
Don,
yeah. So if you look at the security practitioner guide, the additional metrics section, whoops.
Go when I'm
Oh, look
going.
at you. You're already there. I'm trying to copy and paste links. If you go down to step 3 you'll see that what I did there was open SSF scorecard, not a chaos metric. And I just kind of put that in parentheses,
Okay.
and linked to where you can get more information about that thing. So for the most part, most of them, I tried to use chaos metrics that had already been defined, but there are some that maybe
Are they
not.
all, what about like this? Let's just take a look really fast.
Yeah, security might be the only one that isn't.
But even then, you provide a link to OpenSSF.
Yeah, yeah.
The only one. So then, roundabout to your question, Elizabeth, I think probably don't include them unless we have the actual links.
okay.
That'd be my recommendation. Others might have other thoughts.
And then I had one more quick comment, and that's if, as we're going through these, if it turns out that the ones we're removing then leaves the model with one metric, maybe we should pull that out and discuss.
There we're at. That's point 2. You see my point 2, Elizabeth?
Oh, yeah, I see that. See, you're already 10 steps ahead of me, Matt. I'm just gonna sit and drink.
I just think it's a 2-step process. So, Sean, you did have your hand up. It went down. I don't know if it went down
Yeah,
automatically.
I don't know why it goes down. But Mike, I think this just aligns with the points I think that Elizabeth was making. I wonder if by itemizing aspirational metrics in these models, if by removing, I don't know, maybe this pack rat, Sean, I would like to keep a link. I would like to keep some kind of reference to what we thought we might want to create, even if it's not part of the model. But that just feels like it might be pack ratty, but it also feels like it might be helping us avoid losing important thoughts. But I don't know, because cleaning up is probably more important than that concern.
Yes, and you're talking to throw everything away, Matt.
Yeah,
Which
no,
is
that's,
kind of the opposite.
well, and I do agree with decluttering the models themselves. I'm just wondering if we don't want to entirely
Perhaps
lose.
there's a way in here where we can retain that. You know what I mean? Like a
Yeah, like
column J,
a status,
which would be,
yeah.
because I agree. I mean, we did have a lengthy discussion about all of these, and there was a reason for including all the things, even if they're not developed. And just throwing that out doesn't make a lot of sense. Would you be okay with kind of including it here with like a column
Yeah,
J?
yeah. I think it's, yes, that would be helpful. Then I feel like we wouldn't spend time reconsidering or recreating the same thoughts we had 2 years ago, for example.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, great. Anything else, Sean?
Oh,
Okay, Gary, you're up.
The metric model that you were showing us with the issues updated, there we have a very similar metric called issues active. And I don't know if this was, I was not part of creating this metric model, so this is really a question whether we can find similar metrics that are almost what the one intended here is. Like issues update was supposed to be issues that were updated during a certain period. When we look at issues active, it says how many issues were active during a certain period. What's activity? Maybe updating is activity. And so rather than losing this here or moving it to the spreadsheet, we can find metrics that have this information, and we add a comment that use this metric but apply a certain filter. Maybe issues update is only if there was a new comment on it, and whereas issues active is all activity, including giving thumbs up. And so we can say issues updated, use the issues active metric and apply the filter like this.
Yep, that's
do
a real
think-
possibility. Yep.
Yeah, I do think that if there's a comment in a time period, that is the main way that issues get updated. I think I agree with you, Georg. And the item below that is issue comments, so I don't know, maybe we can combine those.
And Gary, to your point, I do not remember the conversation nuanced enough that if we were actually trying to differentiate this statement of issues updated versus issues active, you know what I mean? If we were trying to keep them separate, there's no way I remember that conversation. But I understand your point too, because it's possible that we argued against issues updated, or I mean issues active at one point, and said we really need something called issues updated, but I don't know. Okay, that's fair. So I think part of the process could include part of the removal process, like removing that, removing this, is simply just asking, is there a candidate metric that is awfully close?
Yeah, that
Well, I
is.
would. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that is what I was suggesting. We don't throw out the baby with the bathwater, but maybe just warm up the bathwater.
Okay. Yeah, Kevin.
Sorry, I'm trying to find my hand here, and I can't find it anywhere. Where is it located currently?
Depends on your Zoom version.
On my Zoom, there's a heart at the bottom called React.
Oh, that's weird. I thought React was to all the other emojis. I didn't realize the hand was in there. Ah, okay.
Well, what I find funny about that one is if you click on the heart, you get something very different than if you click on the up arrow next to them, which I find super confusing.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that. I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay.
So one of the things I've been mentioning is about kind of about the language we use around archiving, and I think it's not about this shouldn't be about throwing things away. Right? These are all discussions that we've been having over the years. Right? They're important discussions. To Sean's point, we don't want to have these discussions again. So we don't want to necessarily be removing things. I think we need to think about this more as which parts of our previous conversations do we want to promote and maybe move into a different and maybe organize differently, and which parts of our previous conversations do we want to kind of capture and maybe put a disclaimer on. Right. So don't think about I don't like the idea of thinking about it as removing things. I would prefer to think of it, and maybe I'm in the minority here, but I would prefer to think of it as kind of reorganizing and focusing on new discussions going forward. So in the case of our metrics, right, we identify the metrics that we want to continue maintaining and working on, and we move those metrics into a specific repo. But those other things that we did, those were discussions we had, and it's important to remember that we had those discussions, and there needs to be a place for them, right? Maybe with a disclaimer, but so I just I'm not too comfortable with the idea of let's remove stuff. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, to some degree. So let me kind of walk through, kind of like as a response. So when I say remove, it's to take it out of this document. That's what I mean by remove.
They are no longer part of the metrics model, which makes sense because they don't exist.
They are the forward-facing document. That's what I say when I say remove.
Yeah, and I mean, keep in mind that these all live in GitHub, right? So we can always go back and see what these looked like before we made this change. So we're not losing anything. So if we have questions about what was in here before we make the updates, we can always go back and look.
What is that? There's a bunch of chat in the chat.
I made a chat comment I just had a thought, if we created issues for every new, like if we took things out and they're no longer part of anything, but we thought of them, maybe we have issues for building them out that we template, and those are really great newcomer tasks historically. It's an idea. Obviously that requires more work, and I wasn't sure if we're not already doing that either.
Or not if we remove it from here. So Kevin, is the concern about removing that, like here, or just like the term remove?
When we start talking about removing, we also need to have conversations about how things get added, right? So if we're deciding now that we don't want to maintain and continue discussing these other models, so how do we decide what's important here? How do we decide what we're going to define and what we're not going to define? Is it going to be kind of an arbitrary thing where we come into the meeting and there's no interest in doing it?
It's not arbitrary. These don't have metrics behind them right now. There's no
Oh,
published.
gotcha. Okay.
That's this. That's all that this is.
So it's like we're saying that your package from Amazon includes these 5 things, except it only includes 3 of them. It's kind of what we're saying.
That's
if there's no metrics behind those models, I would remove them.
That was it. That was it.
I'm sorry. I missed that part. I apologize. I came in a little late.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's just simply removing all the metrics that don't have links to, or I'm sorry, yeah, anyone that hasn't been developed yet. In Georg's point, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and to the, just to clarify what I'm saying, I'm not saying we shouldn't do this. I just think we need to be very clear about what we're doing. And I think we need to be careful about the language that we use around it, because this is work that people have done, right? And if we're taking this work and we're archiving it or saying that it's not important, then that's a little discouraging for people who may want to do work in the future, I suppose.
Yeah.
So just something to think about. Once again, not saying we shouldn't be doing this.
Give me a word then that is not archive or remove that I can say. Because at some point, I just have, I don't know. They shall be appreciated but gone. How about that?
Or we could just build a new place for the new discussion and
yeah. So we were going
take
to
these
say
places and just say, like, this space captured previous discussions.
yeah. I mean, we were just going to add a column J to make sure we at least start kind of saving some of these. And to Dawn's point, we do have these in the old logs. Take a look at. So okay. Okay, so I can do that. I think that's a good first start, is to try to work our way through some of these models. And the easiest thing to do, I think, and like we have some issues here, but like is to do it through GitHub and just issue the PRs to start removing any of the metrics that don't have a published metric behind it. Is that the easiest way to do it, Elizabeth?
I think so.
Okay. Oops. You think so? It's like sort of confident.
I see Peculiar has her hand up. Maybe she has some
Yeah.
input.
Yeah, thinking first to identify them so we don't remove the one that has been developed. So identify them on the dock, the ones that need to be developed. So removing or moving them can just be going there straightforward, because you already know the one you want to remove. I mean, move.
Okay. Okay. So over break, if people are okay, I can start doing some PRs against the metric models with the sole intention of removing the ones that don't have metrics behind them, and possibly adding an issue to Georg's point if there are potential compatible metrics, like issues updated versus issues, I forget what it was, but some other published metric, then we can capture that as well. Okay. Then to the second question. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
If we go to the meeting minutes, I started analyzing the metric models and how many metrics we're talking about.
You did all this while we were on the call? Thank you.
Yeah, well, I figured we can get a head start on this and get some factual basis for what we're talking about. I'm currently looking at the community activity. I want to take a look at that together, because every metric in here is not linked. But
Yes, I know.
contributor count, I'm pretty sure we have a metric about the number of contributors. That's a very foundational. Commit frequency or commit count, I'm pretty sure we have that. So I think we need to have that. Maybe we can take some time here finishing this list and linking already out what replacement metrics we can point to, so that when you create the merge request, you can either replace it or remove it.
Or update. Yeah, update it. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, great. Let's take a little bit of time. I mean, what are the all metrics? Right. So you're pretty sure contributor count, the number of active The authors, PR authors, review recipients.
That's contributors. That's the contributors metric.
Maybe. Oops.
When I remember when I write this matrix model down, I gave them the name and close to the matrix we defined in the chaos. But like here, contributor count is really like how to calculate the number of contributors. So we give them a new name. But what I think it's related to the the metrics we already defined in chaos.
So Yahui, on that, would you be okay as a contributor count, like being replaced by contributor?
I think we can change them back to the contributor. Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Updated issue count.
We could also
Yep.
leave the name contributor count, but link to the contributors metric. So when you're reading the metric model, you're thinking of, okay, I need to count the contributors. How do I do this? When I click on it, I go to contributors and I find out, okay, this is how I collect the data. But I know from reading the model, I'm really looking for the count. I don't know if that disconnect is justifiable.
Is it supposed to be a link to metrics, or is it supposed to be a link to a description of how to count something?
To the metric.
Then it should just be contributors, shouldn't it?
I think so. All right, updated issues count. The number of issues.
That one exists too.
What is that one
That's
called?
that one is. I'm sorry, I'm looking for them. We have
Issue
like
activity.
4 issue metrics.
Issue closed, issue new, issue resolution, issue age, issues active.
What's the issues? Yeah, that should be issues active, I'm assuming. Unless you want a count of all the issues that a project has ever had.
Oops.
I'm assuming you want to know what the active issues are at a certain point.
The number
So
of
that
issues,
would be active issues.
the number of issues, yeah, updated over a certain period of time.
Yep, that's issues active.
All right.
I don't think recent releases exists. I don't think updated sense exists. Code review count should exist though.
Are you looking?
Yeah, I'm looking now.
Code review count.
Change request reviews.
That one right there.
Yep, that's it.
I think we have organization count, don't we?
It should be organization affiliation.
Diversity.
Yes.
Organizational diversity, yeah.
Or participation.
Or elephant factor.
Or
Sorry.
influence.
Those are all measures of how many organizations. The elephant factor is more about the number, I think.
I
Right.
think it should be organization diversity.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's diversity.
Okay.
Okay, down here. Okay, commit frequency. I don't know if we have much.
We have commits, but frequency is going to be, frequency describes how to measure commits. So it would be code change commits is the metric, and then frequency is going to be the description of how to measure it, right?
Like a,
Mhm.
like a filter. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay. What was it? Code change commits. Okay. Issue comment frequency. Meeting count. Okay. Elizabeth, do we have these? Do you know meeting count and meeting attendee count?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Maintainer
You know,
count.
we
think-
have spent 2 years. Yeah, sorry, please go. Yeah, I mean, we spent 2 years to find the common way to implement how to count the meeting times. But we don't have some suitable way to do so.
Okay. Okay. Maintainer count. Do we have anything? I don't think we have anything specific to maintainers. Does anybody recall anything specific to maintainers? Like
No.
that role?
Super hard to measure. 'Cause it's super hard to figure out who the maintainers are.
We
Issue.
do have a meeting attendance count metric.
Meeting attendee count.
I did not remember that.
To be updated.
It's not updated. Yeah. Where did it come from? It wasn't on the list. Wild.
Thank you. Issue comment frequency. Issue response time?
I don't think that
No,
is
I think agree. I think it's how many comments made in one issue.
Okay.
if you look at the spreadsheet, this is probably a metric that we have wanted to define for a while,
Okay.
and we've never gotten around to it. I think it's definitely an important metric.
Okay. But we don't at the moment we don't have anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean the frequency part is specific to this model, but issue comments is a metric that I think we need
Okay.
and we don't have currently.
Okay, great. Georg, is this everything?
That's for this one metric, and then if you go up, there are a four more metric models that have unlinked metrics, like issues updated. I think that one we discussed, we can issue active. Issue comments, that's the same one we had before, or further down that we haven't defined.
Yeah, we have nothing for that.
Meeting count, we already discussed that. Stars badges, likes, thumbs up, thumbs down. Don't we have reactions, or stars and forks we have? So
Yep.
I think that needs to be restructured.
We have emoji, don't we? I thought we did.
Oh no, there's a whole discussion around emojis. We could, if you want to talk about that, we can talk about that for 2 hours.
That's why I thought it was a metric. I don't want to talk about emojis for 2 hours.
We started to develop one and we thrashed on it, I think, and never finished it.
Okay.
In your brain, we finished it and we're done with it, I think.
Yeah, I seem to recall we talked about it forever. So.
I think there is one project
on 2 or 3 different occasions.
I remember it was Georg's initial brainstorm.
Yeah, that under project awareness, I think there is one called Project Popularity that does look at stars, badges, all of that. I think that's what that's called.
It did find a home, sort of. Okay. For that one. Okay. All right. Getting some good progress here. Thank you.
For the in the community activity, we have updated since, which is asking about the time frame since activity.
Where are you?
I'm in the community activity. The
I got it.
yeah. Could we use the burstiness metric here? Because that's also about the time frame between activity. Has a different name, but it seems to be.
But when I thinking about this updates things, this metric, what I think the scenario I might is that when I waiting for episode update, so I'm waiting for this episode update. So I would say, okay, it's updated like 2 months ago or 1 week ago. It's
Yeah.
like this.
What kind of
It's not
update
about
are you looking for? Issues, comments, commits?
now. I'm actually it's about mainly about code push event.
So what we are looking for is the number of commits and that they're non-zero.
Is it this? Like that column? That's how I read it. I just picked
Yeah,
up.
it's like yeah, the last commit was made like 32 minutes ago. If you check out some repository, it's like 2 years ago. So which means it's too old or it's not active anymore.
Yes. Okay. Right. So this would tell you this is a very active repository. According to this.
Okay.
I think that's what that's how I read that, Georg.
Yeah, so to me that is looking at the commits, and instead of parsing for the number, we're using a filter for what's the latest commit. So we have a metric about commits that can give us that data. We just have to apply a different filter. And so in the interest of not defining a new metric for each way that we can parse the data differently, Yehui, would you be okay with linking to code changes commits and adding a comment here that we are filtering by time since last commit?
Yeah, I think so. I agree.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Georg.
I would also go back real quick to the meeting count metric. I think the meeting count metric and the meeting attendance metric can be handled by the same. That can be handled by the same metric.
Yeah.
So maybe if that's one that needs to be modified a little bit anyway, maybe we modify it a little bit so that it takes care of meeting count and attendance. Because to be honest, the thing you want to know about attendance is how it changes from meeting to meeting, right? So you always need to account for more than one meeting. So
It's there, right? Do you see my screen?
yeah,
Kevin?
so yeah, minor edits I think can turn those two metrics into one metric pretty easily. Very, very minor edits.
Okay. CI build time, we don't have anything. Event count, I think that kind of goes to what you were just talking about, Kevin.
I think it's a little bit different. But yes, maybe we need to or yeah, I'm sorry. yes, that goes to what I was just saying. Never mind.
Okay. Ratio of issues with change request. Hey, Eric, I see you working there.
Yeah, it's taking two metrics that we have and building a ratio, which to me is something we have defined. We have the foundation. We don't need to define a new metric for this.
Is this, would those, I think that's the ratio that you're proposing is like an overall ratio. The way I read this, and I could be wrong, is the number of issues that are actually linked to a change request.
Oh,
Yes, that's what I mean. Yeah. Because
That
we
is a
think,
that,
yeah,
I've looked at that one before. That is actually pretty interesting.
What's that?
Uh,
The linkings?
the issues linked to pull requests and how it affects merge success.
Maybe issues new.
I think
what I mean is
closed.
that here, sorry, what I mean here, when you push a new, when you create a new pull request, it's always come up uh, uh, come up before you already set up an issue to describe that why do you need this this new code new pull request. So it's don't like this pull request that just come here with no um with with no discussion with people before.
Right. That there should be an issue.
GitHub and GitLab both give you the ability to link a issue to a pull request. So when the pull request gets closed,
Yes.
the issue gets closed as well. You're looking at that linking, right? So if there's an issue linked to a pull request, or then there's discussion happening outside of the pull request. However, they're linked together. So this captures that discussion. So
That's true.
Yeah, it's a great metric.
Okay, folks, we are at the end of time. That was quite
Wow.
productive.
Good discussions.
Okay.
Time flies.
Thank you very much. So I think we're all kind of in agreement that this can slowly move its way forward, issuing some PRs against the models just to clean them up. And then I think we're going to have another step, which is, I think, a little bit of a route of sync template wise and just kind of getting those in sync with each other. But we can do that as a next step. So everybody, enjoy your day, and maybe I'll see some of you in 10 minutes in our metrics meeting, but maybe not. And if not, have a great rest of the day. Okay, take care.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.